Welcome to this episode, conscious caffeine consumption, which I think is very important because a lot of us drink coffee or some sort of caffeinated beverages. I'm here with my guest Arooba, aka Mind Your Matter on Instagram, and I wanted you to give a chance to talk about what your page is about.
Of course.
A lot of people know you from the CMOS that you've been selling, and a lot of people have been interested in that. And I know you've mixed with some people in the community so far.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to explain what your page is about and what you do?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I am so excited to, talk about coffee and how just the importance of conscious caffeine consumption, really. My page is basically about raising awareness in my community and my collective and helping my collective gain an understanding of how to better interact with the world, how to gain a better understanding of who we are, first of all, and then being able to navigate that and being able to bring mindfulness to all our interaction, whether it's with other people, our diets, our thoughts, just being more aware of how we navigate in the world.
So minding the world around us, minding the matter around us.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the matter can be anything from, your food to your coffee, to the drugs that you take, to the doctors that you visit, to the kind of exercise that you engage in.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that you can basically interact with in your surrounding would fall in the category of matter.
And you study naturopathic medicine.
I am a student of naturopathic medicine, and I have been inclined towards natural healing and herbal healing and using foods as a source of healing for a few years now. It kind of started with my own IBS journey and developing a lot of food sensitivities that I was just forced to kind of look inwards, what is wrong with me, because I was not able to seek the help I wanted to from seeing professional doctors, and I just really had to sit with myself and figure out what is wrong with me. And so I really turned towards foods as a source of foods as medicine. And the more I was inclined to this area, I guess the more information I gained, and it just kept opening like a Pandora's box. And here I am, a year and a half later, and I just started my program this January, and it's just been, a really fulfilling path for me so far.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see what is lying ahead for me.
Yeah. I remember seeing your page connected to your main Instagram, and I was clicking at it. I was like, I like the vibe of what I was seeing. It's very informative, very easy to understand, but also super important information that you can't get from the regular society. This conversation is an example of that. Like, you're bringing information about something that we should know about to our everyday life.
Yeah.
So I think that's an example of just what you do, right? In your community. So yeah,
for sure.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So before we get started, I wanted to ask a question. One of the coaches that I look at online, really powerful coach, his name is Rich Litvin. He was doing a podcast feature for someone else.
Okay.
And he asked the podcaster host, he said, what would make this an 11 out of 10 episode for you? So we're here talking about caffeine and how it's important to all of us. What would make this conversation an 11 out of 10? Like, how could we get the best out of this conversation? And what's our intention and purpose with this episode for the person that's watching and listening?
That's a really good question. So coffee is basically a drink of North America. In North America, we use and abuse coffee. And I just want to raise awareness for, our general masses in, how to not stop drinking coffee, but gain awareness about its benefits and the cons of drinking coffee, because coffee at the end of the day is a natural herbal plant. It's a supplement. It has a lot of inherent properties that are actually good for our human body. So it's kind of like raising that awareness for general masses and being able to break it down in a super relatable, easy language for our listeners and viewers, in terms of how much coffee or how can I drink coffee for it to be actually good for me, versus where is coffee gonna start becoming bad for me? What is too much?
Or caffeine, even in that perspective, right?
For sure.
Because they can. Yeah, I've had some unnatural caffeine, so instances, and then same with coffee.
Yeah.
Just thinking about both, you know, like caffeine and coffee.
Yeah.
I think we'll be able to touch on both.
Yeah, I guess with coffee, the main part is caffeine. The too much caffeine, the caffeine overload is what kind of takes coffee from being a supplement for a human body, because I really believe coffee can actually be a supplement for our diets, for our lifestyles, and it really is for some people, but then for a lot of people, there's, you know, dependence around coffee, as we talked about before. There's
I'm always sipping it when you say that, sorry.
That's okay. Coffee tastes good, right? For some people, coffee tastes good. I actually enjoy the taste of coffee.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not about just drinking coffee because I want to feel awake, I want to feel wired. Like, I personally enjoy coffee, and I know a lot of people like the taste of coffee.
Yeah.
But it's just, for, I guess, the 11 out of 10 experience for me is if I'm able to successfully and effectively able to convey the message of, you know, how good coffee can be, versus when coffee can actually be bad for you, or when it is like too much coffee.
And you're so right about that point about not just taking coffee or caffeine beverages just because you need it, but because you actually want to enjoy it. We'll talk about some stories. I want us to share a story each about our caffeine experiences. I'm sure you guys have your own caffeine experiences. We don't just know all this information. We can take the substance and learn years later. Like I just learned what caffeic acid is.
Yes, caffeic acid.
Caffeic acid. Like I'm just finding out what that means. So we're gonna learn a lot. I'm excited to talk about, like you're saying, the benefits of it, but also ways to make sure it doesn't negatively impact us.
For sure.
So knowing both sides. Not to say, hey guys, don't take caffeine. It's like, we're gonna need it. It has its benefits, but there's a moderation to everything. There's a limit.
For sure.
Right. Yeah.
As they say in like homeopathy, they say nothing is good or bad. It's always in the dosage that it becomes poison. Like, even poison is not bad for you. It's the dosage. That's why a lot of homeopathic remedies are actually poisons, but they're in such minute concentration that they're not poisonous for you.
Wow, that's true.
It's all about the dosage and moderation, for sure.
We'll share the stories, and then we'll go into like the heavy stuff. But I want you guys to make sure you stay here, because at the end we should figure out some ways to optimize our caffeine usage. I think that's what everybody really wants to know. So let's start with some stories. That way people kind of know where we are coming from. And I would encourage people listening and watching to think about their own funny stories with caffeine or coffee. Do you have your story? I'm excited to hear yours.
I don't really have a coffee story, caffeine story.
Okay.
I've been a long drinker of caffeine in form of teas mainly, but I personally came to Canada in 2012.
Okay.
So before coming to Canada, back home, coffee was one of those things. You know, we have family over, it's a winter night, we're making coffee, and it's like, you know, we're making coffee, it's just gonna enjoy. It's kind of like a bonfire night, you know, we're enjoying coffee as a delicacy. And then I come to Canada, and I just see, I was 14 years old, and I see in high school, everyone's drinking coffee. Coffee was just everywhere. Ice caps, and it was just such a it was such a significant part of my culture shock as I got welcomed into Canada by coffee. So it kind of like, you know, it really got me thinking about the different cultures. Like, why do we drink this much coffee here? And I just kind of think it feeds into the whole you know, post-industrial era. The go, the productivity, the pressure to perform, the fast-paced world. Whereas back home, it's not so much like that. Obviously, people still have to work to provide for their families, but the pressure to produce and perform is not the same as we experience in Northwest.
I would love to see the difference, but
North America.
But that's interesting, huh?
Yeah.
It's like the usage of coffee, like you're saying, like just enjoying it versus like, we need it. It's a part of, it's ingrained, like water. Coffee is like water.
Literally.
That's crazy.
How about yourself? What's your story about coffee?
So I'm going to tell the story of when I fell in love with coffee.
Okay.
We had a love affair. I was 19 years old, and I got my first office type job. I was working around 40-year-olds. So I was like a younger guy in like an office with like real adults. And everyone's doing their thing, you know, working, and I'm just sitting there trying to figure out what do I do here. So I'm in the lunchroom one day, and I see a machine in the corner. Everyone's going to this machine. So I walk up to the machine, and I'm like, ooh, is it like free drinks? says cafe mocha.
Okay.
So I was like, that means chocolate coffee. Okay, it sounds okay.
Yeah.
I press it, the machine diaries out coffee, like, you know, when it comes to the cup. Kind of gross looking, but anyways, I have the coffee there. I take it and I take a few sips and I'm like, yeah, this is coffee.
Yeah.
This is okay. And I've had ice caps before, like that's okay, like those are good too, but I like the cafe mocha. I went upstairs and I was like, that was good. I'm gonna have another one. So I went downstairs and I had another one. And then I finished it again and it was only like noon. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have one more because these are really good.
You're setting yourself up for trouble.
Oh my gosh. Every day at the workplace from that day forward, I had 3.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me. It's not even just coffee at that point. It's a dessert. It's a dessert that you're having.
Cafe mocha, right?
But cafe mochas are so good. Coffee and sweet coffee with chocolate, yum.
Crashed hard. I crashed hard in the evening, like when I was almost done work. But I really learned about coffee and like how good it can be, how people use it in the workplace, and what happens when you have too much. I learned a lot in a short amount of time with that experience.
So the love affair you said, was it because the coffee was good or was it because it was free?
I don't know. I think the best things in life are free,
That's
or stolen,
true.
or stolen. I you know what I mean? So
I don't know about that.
coffee stole my heart. So I don't know what I'm saying right now. Anyways, point is that was my story.
I love that.
So yeah, since then I've learned a little bit about coffee. I used to have double doubles. Then I went to like 2 milks and 1 brown sugar. I would do that.
You were trying to be really fancy with that.
I started getting really fancy with it. And then when I started the very first year of the no caffeine challenge, had no coffee for the whole month. When November came, I went back to coffee, but I was doing no added sugar November. So I was like, okay, I can have coffee again, but I'm not gonna add sugar to it. So I have to have it. I'm not gonna have coffee with just milk. That's nasty. Is it?
Yeah, I mean,
your preference.
My mom does that, but I'd rather go black at that point.
So I did.
Yeah.
I went black, and I was like, okay, from having no coffee to having black coffee, I was like, this. I can actually taste it. It actually tastes pretty good.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, November 2019, I started liking black coffee.
Good for you. And at that point, you were probably letting the caffeic acid in the black coffee do its job. So it's probably started feeling good in your body compared to, all the sugar and coffee that you were drinking.
Yeah.
And it probably eliminates a bit of the crash at the end. So, you were mindless about your coffee consumption, but you were still onto something.
I think I'm still sometimes mindless about it, so that's why I'm here. You're going to be the one to teach us today about the benefits and the things we have to watch out for. I'm excited to hear what you have to say about it because I don't know as much as I should. Having drank coffee for like 8 years, I don't know everything I should know about it.
That's the point, right? We're always learning, always learning new information.
So let's start talking about coffee. Finally, we've done a pop quiz. We've shared our stories. We've brought our intentions into what we're doing. So now let's talk about what is coffee. Let's break it down. Let's learn something today, okay?
Yeah. So coffee is basically a plant. It grows, in a plant, and the seeds are then roasted, and the seeds are roasted, and then that's when they turn brown from green, and that's when we get, the coffee seeds or the coffee beans. Talking about it at a chemical level, coffee contains caffeine, which most people know about. Caffeine is a stimulant. I'll talk more about how stimulants work in general for our body. And as I mentioned before, coffee contains another very important phytochemical that is not much heard about. It is called caffeic acid. And caffeic acid is the compound that actually turns from green to brown when we roast coffee.
Why do we not know about caffeic acid? Why do we not know about that? That trips me out. The fact that it's so important, that's the other half of coffee.
Yeah.
But we don't, or of caffeine, I should say.
Sure.
We don't know about it. I don't know.
I guess it's because just the way coffee is used is the main benefit of coffee is to, wake us up in the morning and get us going. And let's just talk about caffeine then. Caffeine is the molecule that is responsible to wake us up and get us going. So caffeine is a stimulant. It stimulates our sympathetic nervous activity. Sympathetic nervous activity is the one responsible for, fight or flight.
Yes.
So, looking at a biochemical level, if you want to talk more science, caffeine does two things for our body. So first of all, it signals our brain to release more adrenaline, which is epinephrine. So brain will send the signal to adrenal glands, which will then release adrenaline or epinephrine. And secondly, it keeps the adrenaline in the blood longer. So it elongates the effects of adrenaline in the body. And adrenaline is the molecule for our sympathetic activity. It will,
like working out, for example,
working out, increasing the blood flow.
Expanding lungs, is that one of them?
That is, one of the other really good benefits about caffeine, that apart from being a stimulant, where it increases your sympathetic activity, caffeine is also a bronchodilator. So what it does is it relaxes your bronchioles in the lungs. So it will increase the blood flow to the lungs, and it will also increase the oxygen that the lungs can breathe. So in that sense, it becomes really good for asthmatics. So someone who has asthma, having a cup of coffee in the morning will be really good for them, because it will increase their lung capacity throughout the day. That is also why you see caffeine or coffee in pre-workouts, because yes, it increases the parasympathetic fight or flight activity, but it also increases sympathetic activity. But it also increases your lung output and input, so it increases lung capacity.
Okay. If you have different forms of caffeine, like let's say you have a black coffee, because let's say you're that person who has asthma and you want to expand your lungs, the
bronchodilator.
Thank you. Or you're that person who wants to work out and you have caffeine in a pre-workout. Does having caffeine in different substances affect the ability to absorb the caffeine for these benefits?
That is a good question. Caffeine, I guess if you're talking about caffeine absorption, that will vary depending on what is caffeine paired with and in what form you're intaking caffeine. So that goes on for basically any drug or any any form of food that you're taking. That a lot of foods are more readily available in their most natural forms. And that's why when you take the same food or same phytochemical in the supplemental form, its bioavailability will go down. And so for sure, it's same will apply to caffeine. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at the properties of caffeine, if caffeine will be able to have those same benefits of bronchodilation or increasing the sympathetic activity, those will stay the same regardless of how you take caffeine, whether you take it in a
There's so many forms. There's like gums. I've seen caffeine gum.
Yeah.
One of my friends used to bring that to work.
That is, I actually have never used it. I don't think I'll ever use it, but I have heard about caffeine gums.
Patches.
I guess same goes for nicotine, right? There's nicotine patches and nicotine gums.
Yeah.
So I feel like the property of caffeine will stay the same. The bioavailability and the digestion and absorption will change depending on how you take caffeine.
Okay. Now I want to talk quickly about caffeic. I can never say that right.
You were saying it right. You said it right every single time.
Caffeic acid.
You got it.
Okay. You guys watching, you probably don't know what caffeic acid is. Clearly, I barely know. So that's something that we benefit from drinking coffee, right? In all forms of caffeine?
I would say not so much, because caffeic acid is an antioxidant, and the whole purpose of antioxidant is our body produces reactive oxidative species in our body, and those are produced naturally as a result of all the metabolic activity, the normal wear and tear in the body. So reactive oxidative species are produced in the bodies, and those are just oxygen radicals. They can be harmful for the body, and they need to be scavenged. They need to be collected, neutralized, and passed out in urine or feces. So all the antioxidants that you hear about, antioxidants basically collect those reactive oxidative species, which can harm our cell membranes, which can increase the aging process, which can increase the formation of cancer.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that word you said, scavenge. Like I'm imagining them going around your body scavenging and taking those oxidative.
That's quite literally what they do. They neutralize those oxygen radicals in the body that are really capable of causing real harm in our body. So that's the property. That's what antioxidants do.
Okay.
And caffeic acid is an antioxidant in its natural form, which is, as a drinking black coffee, it contains caffeic acid, which is an antioxidant. It will be able to go in your body, do its job. But when you mix coffee with sugar, sugar now can actually bind to caffeic acid, or it can reduce its action, or it can reduce its antioxidative capacity.
Ooh, that's too bad.
Because sugar contains the oxygens. Sugar itself contains those free oxygens, in sense.
And milk as well? Milk has sugar in, or?
Milk also has, milk does have sugar, but then, the lactic acid, which can be broken down in the body as sugar. So then, obviously your body is not separating the black coffee from the milk. It's digesting the whole thing at the same time. So at one point, the lactic acid in the milk will be broken down into glucose. And that glucose will again bind to the caffeic acid and significantly reduces caffeic acid or antioxidative capacity. So at that point, you will be still getting the caffeine from your, caffeinated beverage, but you will really not be benefiting from the antioxidative capacity of coffee.
So when you found this out, was this already when you liked black coffee, or did you switch to like black caffeinated beverages after you knew this?
That's really interesting. I have always known about black coffee being good for your brain. I wouldn't say always, but I've known that for quite a few time before I knew about caffeic acid. I knew black coffee was good for your brain. And I just really enjoy black coffee by itself. I know that mixing, having coffee with sugar or having like a sugar caffeinated beverage really gives me that crash. That is not worth it. I don't like the feeling even that carries it on the next day for me. And I just really like, if I need to have caffeine in the form of coffee especially, I will stick to black coffee. And it's been that way for me for a really long time.
Yeah. I guess imagine if you didn't like black coffee. Remember we said at the beginning, only about 35% of people drink black coffee or prefer it in that way. So that means most people don't prefer black coffee, even though you're saying it's the healthiest way to consume coffee. So if someone's watching or listening and they're like, how do I like black coffee? Like, I'll give it a try. Like, how do they enjoy black coffee? My advice, guys, is to stop drinking as much coffee. So like limit yourself on your caffeinated beverages and then try black coffee. And I heard when you sip coffee, you're supposed to like make make a slurp noise to purposely get more flavor from it.
Okay.
I would say try it warm, not cold. So it's warm and it's fresh, like freshly roasted. I think that's the best tasting coffee. Best way you can get black coffee. What would you say? How would you enjoy black coffee?
I guess I like, freshly brewed black coffee.
Sure.
I actually really like it. The aromas, I enjoy it. I think I've developed my palate around it. But another one thing about, drinking black coffee for public or people who are watching it is that, for someone who drinks 2 or 3 coffees a day and it's not black.
Oh.
No, it's not black. The thing is that by drinking black coffee, you're kind of eliminating or reducing the crash that leads you to wanting to drink another coffee right away.
Okay.
So hopefully that for someone who does not drink black coffee, switching to black coffee may actually help them eliminate or reduce their coffee intake because they would be able to reduce that caffeine crash, which will lead them to, drink another coffee. So by drinking that black coffee, you might just have a prolonged and a more stable alertness throughout the day. So that is another good benefit that I personally noticed by switching to black coffee.
Interesting.
So I'm going to talk a little bit more about, some of the benefits of coffee and how, we can really make for an amazing experience for our users, because almost everyone drinks coffee. Coffee is an amazing tonifier for the digestive tract. And a tonic is basically a compound that increases the muscular tone. So coffee being a bitter is a tonifying agent for our digestive system. So that means it's really good for our digestive system. It strengthens and increases the digestive capacity of our digestive organs, which would be like stomach, liver, gallbladder. So it actually helps the stomach release HCl, which is our stomach acid, and it helps with the production of digestive enzymes. It helps the liver produce more bile. It helps gallbladder release that bile. So it really increases the muscular tone of our digestive organs. So it can be really good for people who have sluggish bowels, who struggle with poor digestion. So having that, a cup of coffee, preferably a black cup of coffee before, at 12 p.m. before you're having your lunch, or before you're, for example, on a day you're heading out and having, a heavy lunch with your coworkers. Having a cup of coffee beforehand will really help stimulate your digestive organs and pump up your digestive capacity.
Yes.
It actually helps with prevent gallstones. So it can help with gallstones and kidney stones. So in that sense, we're talking about the herbal effects of coffee, which are, almost always forgotten about or not known about, because coffee is just used as, again, stimulant and something to wake us up.
Yeah. How to take coffee the wrong way. Red Bull, energy drinks. I did that like all summer in 2020 at my workplace. We were on lunch break, we would go and we'd get a bunch of Monster energy drinks. And, I would do that. Coworkers would be like, Tex, that's not good for you. And I would say, well, I need energy. So the wrong way is, I think, heavily relying on energy drinks. What's the right way to do that?
And we'll talk about why, energy drinks or very highly caffeinated beverages or just multiple coffees and how that is bad for you. Because you said, I want energy, and that's why you're implying that Red Bull is giving you energy.
Gives you wings.
Red Bull is not giving you energy, Red Bull is taking the energy you have stored in our body and putting it to work. But what comes on the other side of it is that there's a point where you don't have any more energy left in your body. You have depleted your ATP sources, which is, adenosine triphosphate. You have already depleted your ATP sources in the body, and your body has no more ATP, but you're drinking, your caffeine is telling the body, no, you need more.
That's what I was going to say, so why not just have another Red Bull?
You need to keep going. So your body's just harvesting that ATP from the muscles. Your body's just going around sucking that ATP out from wherever it can to just keep you going. So the energy is coming from you, but then at that point you're just like, how much energy does the body have? That just, the caffeine just keep putting out.
So what's the right way instead of having Monster Red Bull energy drinks? If I need that quick energy, or if I need energy, how can I turn to coffee the right way?
I guess on a summer day you could really just get a black iced coffee. If you can't drink a black coffee, again, I guess the second best thing would be drinking an iced coffee. It's still, a yummy beverage. It's still delicious, but then again, it doesn't have the taurine, the insane amount of caffeine sugar, a lot of sugar that Red Bull will have.
Okay. That was my one example.
That was your one example. Looking back at coffee again, or just caffeine in general, like I mentioned that how coffee can be good for your digestive system. It increases the stomach acid production, but you can see already how these things can be bad for you. Like drinking a lot of coffee will get your stomach to produce a lot of stomach acid. And what's on the flip side of that is, a lot of stomach acid will give you stomach ulcers, or will cause inflammation in your gut. So those are some of the cons. It's about the dosage. The same thing can be good for you, but there comes a point where it's beyond the natural capacity and the natural functioning of the body, where the body just can't handle it, and it goes into,
They say about 300 to 400 milligrams is like the recommended amount for most adults, which is like 3 cups of coffee.
I think you're just making it up to support your
No, 300 to
So
400
4
milligrams.
or justify your 3.
So let's say you go. I looked this up a long time ago. Like different cups of coffee from major places we get coffee from,
Mm-hmm.
and the caffeine amount
Yeah.
in milligrams. For example, McDonald's and Tim Hortons have roughly the same amount.
Yeah.
I think a cup of coffee would have 100 to 130 milligrams.
That's small.
And like a medium, I think, like a regular coffee. Starbucks has like twice that.
Mm-hmm.
So one Starbucks, that's why the Starbucks tall coffee is smaller, because it has so much caffeine in it.
Okay.
Way more than McDonald's or Tim Hortons. So if you have 2 or 3 McDonald's or Tim Hortons coffees, that's about 300 to 400 milligrams. That's the safe recommended amount that you should have before the negative effects start happening. So I guess one instance of a negative effect, even if you're having black coffee, would be excess amount of stomach acid buildup.
Yeah.
Or maybe too much jitteriness, like I don't know,
For
you know what I mean? Just the negative effects will start to
And those
show.
recommended usage are just, thanks for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
I did not know that 300 to 400 milligram is the recommended usage. But again, those are really dependent on, your body size, your height, your body composition, your muscle to fat ratio. For me personally, there's no way I can have 400 milligrams of coffee a day, And not to say that another person can't. Obviously, we have Texony here who overdoes coffee from day to day. But that is not to say that he's overdoing coffee, because he's still in his recommended range. So that recommended range, I guess, would really be dependent on who you are. So it comes from, knowing yourself. Again, being mindful of, first of all, who you are, and being mindful of all the stimulus that you're partaking in and consuming. And just trying to being able to maximize the potential that the environment around you has to offer.
So what's another wrong way of having caffeine or coffee, and what happens when you have it the wrong way?
I guess wrong way of having caffeine would be, you wake up in the morning and you are like, the first thing I want to do is have a coffee. No one talk to me.
Oof.
I see shirts in Walmart all the time that the first thing I want is like, first coffee, then
Don't talk to me until I have at least 18 cups of coffee.
And then it's just like, it comes down to a point that why is that your personal experience? Because in the morning when you wake up, our sympathetic activity for a normal healthy person should be elevated. So your body should be telling you to wake up and get going. And for someone who needs coffee to wake up in the morning, you have to ask yourself, why is that so? Why is my sympathetic activity down-regulated below the basal level that I'm not able to wake up even to have a conversation, let alone get through my day? So at that point, it's not even about coffee. At that point, it's just about looking at yourself, looking at your, maybe hormonal imbalance, looking at your blood. Do you have enough B12? Is your blood getting to your brain?
So the right way, instead of waking up, and I wanted to talk about that because that what you're talking about, I call it the caffeine trap. So I'll explain what that is. Like that's, and I've experienced it too. I have, because when I wake up, even though I do want a coffee, I wait at least 1 hour. If I can, I wait 2 hours. Because when you wake up, your cortisol, adrenaline levels are naturally high. So they're going to be at their highest in the morning if you wake up at the same time every day. If you wake up around sunrise, that's the best thing to do. So when they're already at that level, if you have a coffee right there and then, when your cortisol adrenaline is already at its highest for the day, you're not going to get the most out of the caffeine anyways. So now you're drinking coffee first thing in the morning because you need that energy, but it's not giving you the energy. So now 3 hours, 2 hours later, and I'm talking about me sometimes, you want another coffee, even though the coffee you just drank has not even given you all the effects of it. You still have most of that caffeine, if not all of that caffeine, still in your body.
Yeah.
So you drink another, and now noon comes, or maybe 3 p.m. comes, and now you're crashing from the coffee in the morning, so you have another coffee. By now you've had 3, maybe 4 cups of coffee, you've reached your amount, your daily amount, and because you had that coffee in the afternoon, now it affects your sleep. So now you wake up really tired. So what do you go for?
More coffee.
A coffee. That's the caffeine trap,
so that's
guys.
like a positive feedback loop for, keep wanting more coffee, but then negative feedback loop in terms of your energy levels. You're constantly, feeding into a negative energy cycle that where you're constantly dependent on coffee. And that's a really good way to look at it. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah, and so the best way to beat that would be, instead of grabbing a coffee in the morning, go outside. Sunlight is so much better for you when you wake up than coffee is. Because sunlight will naturally give you serotonin, which will increase, that's your hormone and mood regulators in the first place, which is to do with your energy. So if you go outside and you get sunlight as soon as you can, not the same as waking up and putting your phone in your face, although sometimes I actually do that to get myself out of my bed, just to get my eyes open. Going outside and getting actual sunlight and moving, there's actually, I forget what it's called, but the feeling of moving your body forward really gives you a feeling, positive feelings. So if you're sitting down and your brain's stuck and you can't think about something, that's why people say to pace. Because when you're actually moving forward, your body processes things. I think it's maybe it's a evolutionary thing where when we move forward, we have to process what we're passing by. So going for a walk in the morning as you pass by things, as the sunlight hits you, this will wake you up so much better than that cup of coffee will.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very powerful.
Yeah.
So I guess it helps you get out from your inner world and step out in your perceptive field.
Yeah, you have to just start processing.
That is very beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
And then don't drink coffee too late in the day, so you don't have caffeine still running in your body when you go to sleep.
Yeah, it takes about 6 hours for caffeine to break down in the body, and so I would say 6 hours would be, before going to bed. You go to bed at 10 p.m. or 12 a.m. I guess 4 p.m. would be, if you want to drink coffee, 4 p.m. should be the last time you drink coffee, because I guess I'm being generous with 6 hours. I think it's 6 to 8 hours that it takes for caffeine to be eliminated out of your system. So it does take a long time for caffeine to be out of your body.
I think it depends on your tolerance too. I think for me, my tolerance has, my half-life of coffee, when the coffee starts winding down, the effects for me is probably 3 to 4 hours max. That's when it actually starts winding down, as opposed to some people that drink less than me, that have 1 cup a day, for example. For you, it might be 6 to 8. And if you're pregnant, it's actually 10 plus hours. It's so much longer. It's even longer. So that's why you're not supposed to have too much caffeine if you're pregnant, because it's so much stronger. It has your body holds on to it so much more. Yeah. So that's the caffeine trap, guys. Don't be trapped by caffeine. Be conscious about your caffeine intake. So you drink tea for the caffeine, but you drink coffee for the experience.
Not so much. I drink coffee for caffeine as well, but I wouldn't pick one over the other. I drink a lot more tea than coffee for sure, and that is because tea just doesn't make me anxious. Drinking tea, I don't have to think twice about. I don't have to think twice about drinking tea, and it's just it's 7 p.m. I just need to get through the rest of the evening. I can manage to drink a tea, but I cannot manage to drink a coffee and be able to go to bed at a sane hour and be able to wake up in the morning. That's just me. I'm not firing shots at you.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can handle your coffee at 7 p.m., go to bed, wake up the next day, then that's just your body is used to that. More tolerant to that for sure. My body's definitely not. So teas is also another very, very interesting thing about teas and green tea and black tea is that they contain a very cool chemical or phytochemical. It's called L-theanine. L-theanine can also be bought as a supplement. I was introduced to L-theanine by my naturopath, and she recommended me L-theanine to just lower stress levels in the body. And she told me L-theanine is found in green tea and black tea, and L-theanine is not found in coffee. So that would explain why when you drink a cup of steep tea or green tea compared to coffee, you're still able to get the caffeine, but that caffeine is not, I'm not sure if some of the listeners can relate. Coffee can cause jitters, can cause anxiousness in a lot of people, and tea doesn't.
Is that going to bind to is that going to make you have more cortisol production? Is that why?
I think that's exactly what it is. It's coffee. It just increases the production of cortisol in the body, and some people just can't handle that initial surge of cortisol in the body. And when you drink tea, it's being supplemented with the L-theanine, which is an adaptogen. It is renal protective. It's good for your kidneys. It's good for the brain, so it increases alpha brain waves in your brain, and alpha brain waves are the brain waves that are associated with meditative state, daydreaming, creativity. So not necessarily that taking L-theanine will put you in a meditative state, but that dose of caffeine through teas is also being supplemented with a dose of this phytochemical that induces relaxation, which you will not get with coffee. So for me, I cannot compare the two.
Apples to oranges, right?
Really, apples to oranges. Yeah. They both serve an different but equal purpose for my day to day.
No, it's good. It's good to know the difference so you can choose wiser.
For sure, and I guess that's what it is. Like for me, being so mindful about what each thing contains or how to take each thing, I'm not going to choose one over the other, or not gonna. It's never about stop doing this, stop drinking coffee, or it's just about how you can get the most out of doing what you're already doing.
Okay, so before we head out of here, we're going to figure out together ways of optimizing our caffeine consumption so we're more mindful about it, things to add. So when you go to drink a coffee, you're not just going to say, okay, milk and sugar, cream and sugar. It's like, what other things can we do to our coffee to make them taste different, taste better, have more positive and beneficial effects? What can we talk about in that regard?
So, I guess through the podcast, I hope that I really got across the message that, coffee sometimes has a bad or negative connotation associated with it because, it can be abused. It can be used to mask some of the mental health conditions where people who are, chronically depressed can just go day by day depending on coffee or caffeine to, bring their sympathetic activity to a basal level even, to just get them throughout the day, or just overdoing coffee. And those are some of the times where coffee is bad because it can hurt your physical body. It can definitely hurt your mental state. And Texony talked about caffeine trap, where you're just going day by day, constantly dependent on coffee, and there's just no way out of it. So those are some of the ways where coffee can be bad. But coffee in itself is not a harmful substance, especially if you are really mindful about its dosage, because as I mentioned, it's really good for your digestive system. It's good for your gallbladder, your kidneys, and your liver. Caffeic acid is really good for your brain, and it's just good for your body as well, and blood, because it is an antioxidant. And for someone who already drinks, I guess black coffee would be the way to go for masses if you want to reap the most benefits out of coffee. Even if you do drink 3 or 4 cups of coffee a day, just making that into black coffee will help you get all those other physical benefits of the coffee. Moving on, if for someone who already does drink black coffee, some of the ways to even maximize that and take it to the next level, we can talk about, I talked about L-theanine. You can look into supplementing your coffee with L-theanine. So yes, coffee will be exerting its stimulant effects on the body, but at the same time, L-theanine will counter those counter the high by inducing a more relaxed mental state. L-theanine is also protective for kidneys, so the high cortisol levels that are produced by coffee will not negatively affect or not be as harmful to your kidneys.
And so you can just buy these pills? Like you can just buy capsules? L-theanine capsules, like supplements?
You can get them from Healthy Planet or other healthy health food stores.
Okay.
Another really good way, and my personal favorite way to supplement my black coffee, is adding mushroom powders. You're really excited with that one.
I think I'm just gonna put the word adding mushroom powders right there.
Mushroom powders. We have mushroom powders are so wonderful, and I really hope to see them gain the popularity they deserve in literally just next 2 to 5 years. Mushrooms are high in vitamin Bs, and vitamin Bs are super good for our blood formation. They're good for our kidneys. A lot of mushrooms are, really good for your heart, cardiovascular system. They are antioxidants, and they're adaptogens. Adaptogens just mean they'll lower your stress levels. They're good for your kidneys, and they're good for your mental state. Mushroom like lion's mane. Lion's mane is a huge one for
Love that one.
for depression, anxiety. It's really good for supporting your brain health, and I've personally experienced with that. Lion's mane has helped me improve my focus like folds.
Do you take it regularly with coffee, or do you take it like just whenever, like a few times a week, or whenever you can?
So when I first started taking lion's mane, I was taking it almost every day, and I would mix. Lion's mane has a really, not a bad taste for me. It's a really pleasant, like an earthy.
Yeah, kind of like a dollar chocolate.
It really
right?
is.
Like
it really is. You got it.
Same with chaga.
Yeah, chaga is a good one too. So
Yeah.
chaga is more good for like immune. It bumps up your immune system. So chaga is good for your immune system. But at the end of the day, all the mushrooms, these chaga, reishi, lion's mane, they really increase. They help with blood formations, and blood is so important. Blood formation will increase the amount of blood in your body. That blood will be able to reach more organs. Lion's mane, I can just, you can mix it in your smoothie, you can mix it in if you're having a bowl of oatmeal. So there were so many different ways I was eating lion's mane that I was able to take it every single day. And now I'm just kind of more busy, I guess, so I'm not taking lion's mane every day, but I still am able to get it almost, a few times a week.
Yeah.
Another really good mushroom, it's called the mushroom of immortality.
Ooh.
It's called reishi mushroom. And it's a bitter mushroom, so it's very bitter. It's not the best to just add it to your protein shake or just your smoothie bowl, because it will turn everything bitter. So it is so nice when you add it to a cup of black coffee, because black coffee is already bitter, so it masks the bitterness of reishi. And reishi is, as I said, mushroom of immortality, bumps up your immune system. It's super good for your cardiovascular health. It's very grounding. So by grounding, I mean it lowers stress and really helps you be in your body. So, coffee is a substance that gets your brain fired up. So supplementing it with something that really helps you be in your body, you can see that now you're extracting the stimulant effects from the coffee, but you're also able to supplement it with something that has protective effects for your body.
Yeah.
So these are some of the ways you can really take your coffee game to.
And they won't make the coffee taste like worse. It's kind of just like going to Starbucks and be like, hey, can I get some lion's mane in my coffee? Hey, can I get some?
That would really be the revolution, the next revolutionary era where we can.
I just got a really big business idea.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna I'm gonna tell you afterwards.
Yeah.
But anyways.
That is actually revolutionary, where you can just walk up to a coffee store and ask for these super cool, super healthy supplements.
Okay, so yeah, those are some ways to add things to your coffee, so you can still have your caffeinated beverage, but you can make it you can have a little more mindful experience.
For sure.
Get even more benefits out of it instead of going to the conventional sugar, cream, milk, double, medium, double thing.
Yeah, and I really believe that if you step out of that habit, or just like, I just want to have a really good coffee, and switching to these mindful ways to consume coffee, it will actually help you reap even better or stronger effects of coffee, whether it's stimulant effects. You'll be able to feel good, and when you feel good, you'll be able to do good. So it kind of sounds like you might be able to get through the same day with just 1 or 2 cups of coffee, just because now you're in a better mental state. Your mental state is just healthier and not dependent on just that sugar caffeinated beverage.
It's kind of like the opposite of the caffeine trap. It's like the opposite. Less caffeine, higher quality, less dependence, more benefits.
Yes, you got it.
The opposite.
For sure.
The conscious
That's
caffeine.
a really good way to put it.
Created. I think it's a C word, but yeah. Cool. All right.
Cycle.
So you're too late, but yes. Well, I think we really... has this been an 11 out of 10 conversation, do you think?
It was really worth it for me.
Yeah.
I feel like I learned a lot. I didn't come in this room to learn more about coffee, but I definitely had so much to learn from you.
Oh, awesome.
And
likewise, yeah.
And it's something about, speaking about stuff that you already knows about kind of solidifies in your own head too. And, from just, I guess, myself talking about coffee, I guess I probably unlocked another level of awareness regarding my caffeine consumption.
My final thoughts is at the end of the day, you're one of two people. You either have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. So if you have a fixed mindset, you will listen to this and you'll be like, okay, that's cool and all, but I like my double coffee. I like my frappuccino with all the stuff. Or you can have the growth mindset and be like, okay, this makes sense. Maybe I'll try one of the things you said. Try it. That was actually good. Maybe I'll try whatever the other thing that you talked about. Maybe I'll consider the caffeine trap. Maybe I'll consider L-theanine. Maybe I'll consider caffeic acid more. So if you have that growth mindset, you can actually take this information and do something with it. Life is about action. It's not just about information.
For sure.
What you do with the information. So if you have the fixed mindset, it's all going to go right over the head. So hopefully people listening and watching have the intention to change or at least try new things with their caffeine consumption to become conscious, right?
Caffeine consumers.
It's too many C's. It's honestly too many C's for me.
You came up with this, so I have to give you the credit.
Well, one more thing, guys. I have a present for you.
Let's go.
For joining this.
Let's go. I'm so excited. I love presents.
Yeah. All right. Had to rep the merch and give you one of our T-shirts.
Wow.
Compliments of the community.
Wow, don't we love it? In white too.
It is the
It's
white
so
V1
it's so
Classic.
Soft, and it seems really breathable. Would you care if I work out in this?
You can definitely work out in the V1 Classic. It's a great summer vibe. The white one's a great outdoor summer vibe.
I love it.
A lot of ladies will wear that with like some jeans or some jean shorts. I wear them with jeans. Like the white one with some jeans and
Thank you very much.
white pair of slacks.
Can you just stop?
Anyways, that's the T-shirt, y'all. Make sure you get one. And if you come on the podcast, you might be gifted with some free merch.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here on this conscious caffeine consumption episode creation.
I have a question.
Uh-oh.
Is this mind, body, or soul? I would say it's not soul.
Mm-hmm.
So it's mind or body.
You mean like in general caffeine consumption?
Mm-hmm.
When you say conscious, I think about the mind.
Okay.
So it is the mind.
I would think about the mind too.
But when you say coffee, I think about a substance. And a substance goes in the body.
Mm-hmm.
You don't take a substance straight to the mind.
Mm-hmm.
You take it to the physical body.
Yeah.
So it's both.
It's mind and body.
It is.
It really is. And I feel like after this podcast, I really got to learn about the body benefits of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And with the conscious part is how you take your mind to it. Instead of being mindless as you consume and take in substances, which will lead to despair, addiction, dependence, and possibly death. So guys, be conscious, be aware, take your caffeine the right way, the smart way, keep that growth mindset, and yeah, I'm done ranting to everybody. All right.
Well, thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed this podcast with you.